Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect. This is your brother Dawadah from the Men of Valor campaign in Greenville, South Carolina, coming back with another video on sincerity and in truth. Lord willing, it can be edifying. And want to cover this breaking news, all right, that happened in Minneapolis. All right, apparently there was an ICE-involved shooting. All right, we're going to go into that. And, we can highlight a bit of how this will, affect things going forward, how this falls into biblical prophecy, all right, because this is major. All right, so let's get into it. All right, left-wing protest industrial complex activates across multiple cities after ICE-involved shooting in Minneapolis. So this is already starting to spread. All right, this is something that's being covered. They're definitely going to push this through the national media, all right, which we already know who controls that. But they're already pretty much spreading. This is going to cause more uproars. This is going to cause more turmoil in the streets. People are already pissed off about one thing or another, whether it be what's going on with Gaza, whether it be what's going on with Venezuela, whether it's what's going on with Ukraine. You got all type of different, things. You got those that love Trump. You got those that hate him. So tensions are already high. So you have a situation like this happening where now, people have been going around harassing people in ICE or whatever, following them, trying to stop them from making arrests and shit like that. And now you're having people actually die. And I know brothers have done videos like going back during the summer. They were already kind of setting the tone for it, but now we're at the start of 2026. And you're seeing that threshold has been crossed. All right, plainly, it's been crossed plainly. Now you're having ICE enforcement, use lethal force against people. What do you think this is going to lead to? Do you think it's going to go backwards, or do you think it's going to continue to ramp up, all right, to totalitarianism? All right, so let's get into it. It says it didn't take long. Within hours of ICE-involved shooting in Minneapolis area, the Democratic Party's protest industrial complex moved into action. And you got to understand, especially like with these type of articles that tend to be conservative leaning, it's always pointing fingers at the West, or not the West, pointing fingers at the left or pointing fingers at the right. The Democrats did this, Republicans did that, all type of, just whatever, But nonetheless, we know according to how the Lord set up this power structure, like it says in Revelation, he had two horns like a lamb, but he spake as a dragon. So this is nothing but the old Roman system of you have an elected official, then you have two bodies of government. You have the plebeians and the patricians, one that favored the rich and one that favored the less fortunate. Same thing here. You have the Republicans and the Democrats. And if you actually go into history, the Republicans and the Democrats, their sidings actually flipped. Okay, the Democrats were not, for Jake up until like JFK or some shit. Maybe it might have been a little bit before that, but definitely by like JFK. Then you saw a switch. And then from the 50s, 60s on, Jake should somehow just belong to the Democratic Party. That's why you saw this whole debacle with Black Lives Matter and shit like that. They take the killings of Israelite men and they profit off of it, Got people marching in the streets. We remember the whole Black Lives Matter shit, and there was more white people out there protesting than Jake's. I remember that shit. I saw it with my own eyes. It says, quickly creating conditions for coordinated demonstrations across multiple cities. The rapid response suggested these nonprofit activist networks were on standby, waiting for a catalytic event, as an army of radicals intensified pressure campaigns against federal agents, blocking streets, harassing officers, and openly doxing them. They're finding out their location and shit. All right. And this is what J.D. Vance said, the current vice president. He says, I want every ICE officer to know that their president, vice president, and the entire administration stands behind them to the radicals assaulting them, doxing them, and threatening them, congratulations, we're going to work even harder to enforce the law. So what does that mean? All right, he's saying, hey, we stand behind ICE, this modern Gestapo that we've set up, all right, with Tom Homan, I think that's his name, you know, and their goal is to get these Northern Kingdom out the way, and it's already come out that they're not really arresting criminals. They're arresting those that don't have a criminal record, you know, I think to the tune of like 750,000 or some shit like that since, you know, Trump came back in the office. All right, so we're seeing, you know, hey, they're picking their side. And we said through the Spirit a while ago, months ago, that, yeah, it's starting with the Northern Kingdom, but that's just how they were going to get up in there. Okay, they're going to be able to enforce, you know, laws. It's like Trump's little private military. All right, if you speak out against them, they're gonna learn to pull up on you. All right, and that's where that persecution is going to come. They're already starting to try to enforce anti-Sem, you know, rhetoric and pass legislation. You know, they're trying to ban hate speech and all that, and they're going to deem what we, you know, this truth hate speech, just to put it plainly. All right, but they're saying your vice president is saying that, hey, we openly stand with the ICE enforcement. All right, if somebody's trying to dox them, come up against them, hey, we're going to, you know, so what does that mean? That means more law enforcement involvement. That means a bigger military presence, okay? And Esau still is sitting on technology that's going to get you average everyday Americans out the way, man. It don't matter if you got guns. All right, they got bigger guns. You saw how they was able to go in there and extract the damn president, you know, Maduro. Okay, they can do that shit on your neighborhood. Easy. Cut your lights off. Cut the whole block's lights off and pull up on you. You know, and you and your drawers and shit. You don't even know, man. Because Esau is that sword. All right, and the only way we're going to be protected against this devil is by Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man. Okay, and that's why and our faith in him is why we don't have fear. We don't have fear what this devil can do to us. You know, yeah, they can pull up on you, you know. They try to torture you and shit like that, which I don't believe that's going to happen to men of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, but you never know. You know, what's in their mind. The Lord is in control, though. All right, even if they have the mind of want to do heinous things to us, because, hey, he is the wicked. All right. Hey, if the Lord ain't with it, it ain't going down, man. And that's just what it is. Let's continue on. It says, shortly after ICE involved shooting that left one woman dead, multiple videos of the incident went viral on X, and at least one video, she appears to be blocking the street with her vehicle in an attempt to impede ICE agents, and is later shot and killed after advancing toward one of the agents. Numerous angles of the incident are circulating on X, offering competing narratives, and I'm not going to show it. You can go look it up. All right, so that's pretty much what happened. So they're saying it was a chick. She was trying to block them from doing their job. All right, and you damn women, you gonna find out soon. Now this could have been an agent, okay, or this could have been organic. All right, women like to put their damn nose in business that don't pay them. So, you know, they're trying to be social justice warriors. I can see them her going in there and trying to be macho, because these women, they think they can compete with men, and that's one thing the Lord is about to course correct. All right, you know, the scriptures speak about, you know, the mighty men shall cry there bitterly. You know, and speaking about the inhabitants of Babylon being like unto women, why would the Lord say that? The woman is the weaker vessel. All right, the woman wasn't made to be all, mighty and all that shit. No, she was supposed to be soft and feminine. All right, and there's nothing wrong with that. We love that. But, all right, Esau has fed these women the Kool-Aid of, you know, I can do what a man can do. I can be macho. So, hey, when it comes to, even these women in law enforcement, bro, these chicks in law enforcement, bro, they be looking like hard asses, man. You know, they think they can go toe-to-toe with a man. All right? And we coming into the times now where the Lord is about to show you why he created a man to be a man, why he created a woman to be a woman. And a woman was created to be a possession to her man. All right, and guess what? Most of these women don't have men out here. All right, so you in a little catch-22. It says the Democratic Party's propaganda machine desperately searching for the next narrative after the optically displeasing Somali-linked daycare fraud scandal was quick to deploy a new storyline. It says, as we noted before, protests actively erupted in the Minneapolis area The left-wing nonprofit Minnesota Immigrant Right Action Committee functioned as a rapid response mobilization hub, coordinating a coalition of left-wing activist groups to flood the streets by late evening. Yeah, they got up out there quick, man. All right, so that makes you think, man, hey, is this part of it? Because why now? You know, they're trying to set up totalitarianism. They have the technology to facially recognize you. You know, they have this Palantir tech. All right, and they're definitely going to use it. So if you show up to these damn protests, you know, trying to go up against ICE and shit, they might not catch you immediately. They'll figure out where your ass is at, though. We all have cell phones on us and stuff like that. We all have little tracking devices. All right, Edward Snowden, he came out and exposed. That's why his ass still can't come back to America. He exposed that the damn government spies on you. So now it's just common knowledge, man. And with all this, they push, you get the newest iPhones and shit like that. You know, how do you think these companies get so damn big, man? The government will allow them to grow to that. All right, so they can privately surveil, the population. If you got a Google, everybody either got a Google phone, a Samsung phone, or a damn iPhone, man. So you can be tracked. And that's why, again, we're going to rely solely on divine intervention, man, on Yahweh Shem Yahushua coming and delivering us, because this devil, he can meet you at every corner, man. All right, that's why, man, it's like, damn, Jake, we be trying to warn Jake, because we know how this devil get down. The Lord created this devil, man, and the Lord is terrible, okay? Anything you see these devils be doing, as heinous as it be, it was ordained by Yahweh Shem Yahushua, man. All right, so again, just wanted to bring out some information on this. We'll grab, 2nd Ezra 15th chapter, because it's very fitting for what this is, going into. And again, the timing is very interesting. We had the turn of the fiscal year. You see how they were able to, you have this incident go down, and then you have people coming out and protesting. Really, what has protesting ever really fucking done? If you actually study history and shit, just motherfuckers just protesting, it don't really get nothing done. How wealth and power and all that shit and land is actually transferred, is through the act of war or the act of marriage, and we ain't really in those times of marriage, because you have a democracy set up. So now it's, the only other thing is war. These motherfuckers are going, and you see what America's doing. They want Greenland next, and that's going to piss off NATO or the EU nations. They're strategically trying to set themselves up and keep themselves as the world power. They're in a new round of imperialism, and they don't give a fuck that social media exists. They don't give a fuck that you people got an opinion about it, just like they didn't give a fuck that you had an opinion about it hundreds of years ago. They feel that it's in their divine right to that all this shit is theirs, man. The land and the people in it. That's how they think. That's how these devils think, man. They have that God complex, man. Just because you might not have it don't mean they don't got it. They want to control everything. All right, and this could be just one cog in the big machine of them bringing in, that AI oversight, man. Because if these continue to turn violent across America, all right, they're going to have to respond, with more military presence. All right, they got those drones on standby. So, hey, we're looking very much down the barrel of the dark times that Yahweh Shem Yahushua said will be coming in these last days. All right, the time of Jacob's trouble, all that's going to be intertwined into this. Okay? So let's get this. 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. We're in a time where the Lord is bringing wrath and judgment upon the world, man, in a many sense, the globe. All right, he's also visiting, these people, but hey, this is coming down, globally. Verse 15, it says, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. All right, so right now, if you take away the fact that these ICE agents, they're law enforcement and shit, they're more than likely American citizens. So you have American citizens, coming up against other American citizens. There's your one people standing up against another. It didn't say how it was going to happen. It just said one people was going to stand up against another. And swords in their hands. Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. So when food instability hits, right now it's political, but hey, once they introduce a manufactured famine, then what? that division is only going to increase. The use of swords, the modern day sword as the gun, is only going to increase. So they're not going to regard their kings nor princes. A lot of these Edomites they're not dealing with Trump right now. They can see that he's pro-Israel, not pro-America, not America first. He's Israel first. It's plain to see. It is plain to see. So it says, for there should be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power. All right, there's going to be anarchy out here. All right, we're going to see summary executions. We ain't going to see due process no more. They're going to take that Constitution up and they're going to wipe their ass with it. All right? Because these Edomites, they still believe, these lower level Edomites, they still believe in the Constitution. That's what they're about to go to war for. Because in their Constitution, they have the right to bear arms. They have the right to free speech. Have the right to due process. All right, but the powers that be, they're about to take that shit away from them. That's what we're seeing. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. All right, things like this, like these, if these continue to ramp up, all right, we can see something like martial law. Warlike, they don't have to announce it either. You're just going to see the troops on the ground. So a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Verse 18, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed and men shall be afraid. And if men are going to be afraid, how much more women? These women think they're going to be out here, able to survive. No, you're not going to be able to, not very long. Okay? Not when there's military and, men on the loose and stuff like that. And if they have the guns and you don't, and they don't give a fuck that you're a woman, all right, they're going to pass you around, man. All right, the Lord has judgment set up, man. Verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So for that lack of bread. All right, once that famine is tossed into the mix, all right, these people haven't gone time without having to eat, or, being able to eat food. And their mind is the mind of a glutton. They feel like they have to just eat. So what happens when that food instability sets in, man? I talked to ChatGPT about it. All right, these people it's going to mentally shake them before it physically does. And it's going to make them think and move irrationally. That's where you're going to see chaos, man. So this is what this is all leading to. All right, they want to bring totalitarianism. They want to bring total authority under it's very unique because they paraded this country as a democratic one, a republic, all right, but now it's moving toward a damn dictatorship, man. And hey, really, the global elites is they're taking over the whole world. That's why they want to put that micro C up in everybody. That'd be the supreme dictatorship, man. Because once they got that C up in you, they got you. That's why the Lord commanded us not to receive it. It's the ultimate test of our faith, man. Because they're gonna cut you off from society for not receiving that. We're in these last days of these final prophecies coming to pass, man. And again, like brothers have been saying, now's not the time to get weak in the faith. Now's not the time to be, worried about the other bullshit, man. All right, focus on salvation. Seek the kingdom of the Yahweh Bashim Yahushua and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you, man. We're in those times. So I just want to bring out this news information. Lord willing, is edifying. I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahushua Bahashim Makakudash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, Haruel. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect. Till next time, Shalom.